Hi, I'm Lucas Connors, here with another tabletop review. Today I'm reviewing Pandemic. Pandemic is a cooperative game where all the players play together against the game itself. It was published in 2008 by Z-Man Games, plays 2 to 4 players, and lasts about an hour. Let's see what's in the box. The game Pandemic has many cards and pieces, and so in the interest of time I've already done most of the setup of the game here. So this is set up as it's a 3-player game where roles were given randomly, but they were chosen to be the medic, dispatcher, and scientist. So that represents these 3 pawns here at Atlanta. Now, on your turn, you can do 4 actions, and then you will choose 3 cards out of this player draw pile, and then the virus has its turn. But let me describe a little bit about what you're looking at right now. So each of these cubes of these different colors are disease cubes that represent that color of the virus. When the game begins, you'll draw 9 cards here out of the infection draw pile, and you'll create this pile here which decides where the viruses all start. So we have some of the blue virus here, and here's the black virus, the red one, and the only city to have any of the yellow virus in it right now is San Diego. Now when the virus has its turn, it'll flip over more of these cards, which will spawn essentially more viruses through these different cities. There's only 1 card for each city in the infection draw pile. Similarly, the player draw pile has player cards, which mostly are just cities throughout the world, and similarly, there's only 1 city, or 1 card per city. So out of the 4 actions that a player can do, they can move to an adjacent city, they can fly to a city to a card that they have in their hand by discarding the card, or they can discard the card of the city that they are currently located in and then travel to any city. You might have also noticed this little piece here. This is a research station. You start with 1 in Atlanta, and you can use an action to build some of those when you're in other cities. Now that research station is going to be helpful because it allows you to travel from city to city. You can use an action to travel from 1 research station to another. Now the object of the game is to discover the cure for 4 viruses. And you do that by collecting 5 cards of that color. Say we're talking about blue. You'll collect 5 blue cards in your hand, and then while you're on a research station, you'll discard the 5 blue cards to cure blue. Now what else does curing mean? Well, these viruses are spreading throughout the world, and one of the other kind of meta games that you're going to have to be playing is maintaining the disease so it doesn't spread too much. One way to lose the game, in fact, is for all the disease cubes of 1 color to be gone. So if you have too much blue spread on the earth that you don't have any more cubes left in your supply pile, the game ends for you. So once you've discovered a cure for a disease, you'll be able to treat the disease by taking away all the cubes at once for 1 action, whereas normally you can only take away 1. Additionally, if you eliminate all of the disease cubes of a discovered disease or a cured disease, then when you flip over cities with that color from the infection draw pile, it will not spawn any more of the disease. It's considered to be eradicated at that point. So if you eliminate all the cubes, you can do that. Every role has different special abilities, which will be really useful when you are working together as a team to try to save the world, essentially, from all your viruses. So for instance, the medic can remove all the cubes of a single color for 1 action on their turn, as if you had already discovered the disease. And once you do discover the cure to the disease, then simply entering a city with disease cubes will eliminate them for the medic. On the other hand, the scientist, instead of requiring 5 cards to discard to discover the cure, will only need 4. And so the roles have different abilities like that, so you'll want to use the best of your abilities together. Here's how a typical turn will look. So I'll play as the scientist. He's going to have 4 actions. So let's say I discard my Essen card and travel to Essen. That's 1 action. I can use another action to move to St. Petersburg, and then I can use 1 action to remove 1 blue cube from St. Petersburg, and then use my 4th one to get rid of the other one. That ends my turn, so I'll pick up 2 player cards. So I got Moscow, and oh no. Okay, so I have Epidemic. I discard this card immediately, and now we increase the infection rate counter. We take the bottom card from the infection draw pile and place 3 cubes on that city. And then we take the infection discard pile, shuffle it, and then place it on the top of the infection draw pile. Now this means that all the cities that were recently infected are on the top of this pile. If you draw a card for a city that has 3 cubes on it, instead of gaining a 4th cube, what happens is it outbreaks, and that means that all of its adjacent cities gain an extra cube. Obviously, you don't want to have this happen. Not only because your cubes are going to get eliminated very quickly and the disease is going to spread all over, but it'll actually increase this outbreaks counter 1 every time you do have an outbreak. And if it goes all the way to 8 outbreaks, the game ends. The last way for the game to end for you is for the player draw pile to be completely emptied. So you don't want to be wasting your cards either, since you need them to discover cures, because this pile runs out more quickly than you'd expect. Okay, so now that my turn is done, it's actually the turn of the virus to go. And so we draw a card. So we have St. Petersburg, which means that it'll gain a cube. Luckily, I just saved it. And we draw another card since our infection rate is 2 for Sydney, and so Sydney gets an extra cube. So essentially you want to work together as a team and try to eliminate the viruses by discovering the cures before chaos ensues. Good luck! I recommend Pandemic to the hardcore gamers and anyone looking for a challenge. I wouldn't recommend the game to someone who's looking for something easy to pick up and play. Pandemic is great with 2 players, but it's better with more. 4 is probably the best game. One thing that I like about the game is that it's easy to adjust the difficulty. You can just have 4 epidemic cards instead of 6, and those games play out completely differently in terms of difficulty. It's a great teamwork game, although the setup is a little bit long and a little bit complicated, and there's not that many roles to play with. There's 5, so if you play with 4 people, then you're using all the roles but 1. So not as much variety there. But in terms of replayability, there's actually quite a lot, because the way that the game unfolds is considerably different every time you play. So that's really good too. Thanks for joining me for my tabletop review of Pandemic, and I'll see you next time.